The problem with new car brands is trying to earn the trust of the local car market. How do brands do that exactly? By being there for a long time, earning trust from the fans, being reliable, having good performance over the years. But what Changan did was that they lent us one of their great products, their compact SUV, the Changan CS35 Plus, with 100,000 kilometers clocked in it. That's right, this car has 100,000 kilometers and it's still running just fine. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to take a look at the outside, the inside. I'm going to show you all the details that I find are different about the Changan CS35. And in the end, we're going to see if this car is the right one for you. How's it going, guys? It's Roy from Zigwheels.Ph. And today, we'll be taking a look at the 100,000 kilometer Changan CS35 Plus. Starting with the front end of this subcompact SUV, as you might see, it actually is a pretty busy look when up front. The most prominent feature would be that Changan logo right there. You better familiarize yourself with that logo. Would it be your next best friend? I think it looks like kind of like an inverted Starship Enterprise or Star Trek logo, maybe. What do you think? Drop me a comment in the comment section down below. So instead of a mesh grille, you get this polygonal kind of design. It looks kind of funky with his red accents. These are body matched actually, so you don't have to worry about that. It has these this boxy headlamps. These headlamps contain halogen projector headlamps up front. No LEDs on this one, but the daytime running lamps are actually LED. Heading over to the bottom, you'd expect to see fog lamps, but there aren't any. That's probably a sore point for me, because I do love seeing fog lamps, especially on a compact crossover SUV like this. It's got these matte gray or silver, brushed silver kind of trim down below, and it definitely adds a bit of kick when it comes to the exterior. Overall, it's a clean look. I like it. If you're into those boxy types of designs, the Changan CS35 Plus might be the car for you. Let's head on over to the side and I'll show you a few stuff that I think I find interesting. Now, the sub 1 million peso budget range is a pretty cutthroat market, so you have to give out all the toys, all the accessories that you can in order to get a certain advantage over the other cars. So when it comes to the side panel here, the first thing that's going to grab your attention are these color-coded, color-matched type of trim next to the plastic cladding. You would think that they're reflective, but they're actually just body matched. So they're just more like an accent to the overall side panels, and it adds a little bit more spunk to the overall look, but they're definitely not functional. What are functional though are these body claddings. Their function would be mostly for aesthetics, but whenever you use this on rough roads or maybe on rocky ground, it won't hit your precious body panel paint. Instead, probably just have to clean this up. Now, another thing about the exterior, it does have these trendy black panels on the C-pillar, giving it a floating roofline design. There are a lot of SUVs, compact crossovers that have the design, and I think Changan CS35 and Changan itself, I think it was a great look for this car. And I think it definitely looks good. It's got the Changan badge right there again. It's got to remind you again that this is a Changan, and you better get used to it. It's got this roof rail up top for all your stuff, and of course, it's got the repeater signals on the side mirrors. Let's look at these alloy wheels right here. They're 17-incher shot in 215 55 R17s. They're pretty chunky. There's their chunky boy mags, and gives it an interesting stance overall. Over on the side panel, it's pretty interesting. You thought it would be boring, but it's not. It gives you a great look running down the highway. Let's look at the back. Now, the Changan CS35 is like the mullet of subcompact crossovers. Like business and boxy up front, but party in the back. Take a look at these LED tail lamps. Now, usually with other cars, the middle part would be just like a red trim, but for Changan CS35, it's a complete light bar all throughout. My cameraman actually told me this looks like one of those Tron vehicles, and I tend to agree. I mean, it's got molded, multi-layered tail lamps. Look at that, that's amazing. It definitely looks good if you're leaving other people in the dust. Of course, you got your rear defogger and this interesting mesh type mesh type lower trim at the back. Of course, your diffuser. Now, here's one more thing that's interesting. Usually when it comes to these subcompact crossovers, their dual exhaust ports would be FAW or fake. Okay, let's call it fake. It would be fake. But when it comes to Changan CS35, look, these are actual dual exhaust ports, and definitely interesting, definitely gives it a great look, and this is a winner in my book. Being a subcompact crossover, it's got all the amenities, including this rear hatch in the back. So taking a look at cargo space, it's got this really low loading floor, so if you need anything, if you need to lift heavy objects to it, easy peasy. So you got a lot of space inside for all your stuff, and if you need even more space, you can just easily fold these seats down. 60-40 split. The only thing is that it doesn't give you a flat floor, but at least you got enough space for all your groceries, for all your long items, and I don't know, it's all good. And it's not the best in class, but the Changan CS35 Plus definitely delivers in the space department. Oh yeah. Heading over inside, the Changan CS35 offers ample legroom and headroom, even for myself who has a 5'10.5" height. So at the back, you get this soft leather-like material. It's pretty soft. It's pretty comfortable. I don't think it's real leather, but I'm not complaining. So everywhere you get these soft touch materials. Usually cars only have soft touch door panels in the front, but in the back, you got these real stitching materials, soft touch. It's all good. You got this brushed aluminum look in the back, so it's not boring, and everything's pretty solid. The thing about that rear air vent in the back, you notice I only said air vent because it only has one air vent, and you should be thankful for that one air vent. Although if you got your brother or your sister in the back, I think you would you'd be fighting over this air vent in the back, because I guess a good compromise would be one of you would have the air vent, the other would have the USB port, so no complaints there. There are no armrests, there's no center armrest right here, but it's all good, so no worries about that. It's got bottle holders in the back, so that's good. Here's the thing about the Changan CS35. If you notice the door, when I closed the door earlier, it has this huge bassy thump when you close it. The door is actually pretty heavy. Unlike most new models out there, new brands, this one is actually built solidly. And even after it's run for almost 100,000, for more than 100,000 kilometers, I think it's held up pretty well actually. And again, it's got a lot of space for me. And let's take a look at the front and see how it works out there. So right now we're in my favorite seat in the house, the driver's seat. The first thing that's gonna grab your attention is this flat bottom steering wheel. It's leather wrap, well, leather material wrap with real stitching on it, and I really like it. My only gripe would be that it's too thin for my liking. Maybe if they could make the steering wheel a bit chunkier, I would have appreciated it even more. You got your controls on the steering wheel, but it's a bit too plasticky for me. Again, I appreciate that it's there, but if you touch on it, it gives you this weird clicky feedback that you'd find in more budget offerings, which this is actually. You have soft touch materials on the dashboard. Again, if you knock on it, it's a good thump right there. It's got this great center control console right here, integrated with this soft padded armrest. The armrest is pretty much parallel with the armrest on the door, so if you're driving, you're definitely in a full comfort mode. That I'd say it's definitely a good place to be in. The shifter is a bit short, and it gives you minimal feedback whenever you shift through the different gears. I wish it could give me more feedback though. But again, we could attribute that maybe this could be a 100,000 kilometer car, that it probably could be a bit loose somewhere there. You got two USB ports, and on top of that, you got this AC control module that's all capacitive, all right? It's practically devoid of any physical buttons at all. So if you want to change the temperature settings, if you want to change the fan settings there, you'll have to slide your fingers to this receptacle on each side. And again, I wish it could have had more physical buttons, but it goes for the look. It's a great look all in all. Speaking of buttons, If you look at the power windows, usually you'd find automatic up and down power windows for the driver's side, but it has it in all the windows. So that's a plus. That's definitely a nice thing to have. And a quick disclosure here. This car that we're testing today is actually a pre-production model. So the menus in Chinese, we're not able to link my phone to it. And sadly, there's no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. It does have mirror link though, but we can't test it because it's in Chinese. Also, one more thing, the pre-production model has this regular sunroof up there, but the one that you'll be getting in the showrooms is a panoramic sunroof, so that's a lot better in my book. One thing I find quirky are these headrests. The headrests actually have this weird bow-like design to it. That's definitely different. Again, it's different from the rest of the pack. So that's interesting. The seats are nicely bolstered, by the way. So if you're into some spirited driving, it'll definitely keep you in place. That's just something I like about it. Although the interior of the Changan CS35 Plus is pretty upscale, punches above its weight, and again, it's a nice place to be in. Let's take it for a drive, shall we? So off the line, it's pretty brisk. Under the hood, you got a 1.4 liter TDI turbocharged engine that makes 156 horsepower and 220 newton meters of torque. So that affords you enough power to get through the city and overtake a few trucks on the highway. It's not going to outrun any sports cars, but it's still pretty above average when it comes to economy cars or subcompact SUVs. All right, so up front, you got your typical McPherson struts, and on the back, you've got your torsion beam suspension. That means that it's not gonna help you, carve some canyons, do a little spirited driving when it comes to cornering around maybe Baguio or sorts, but it gives you a comfortable ride in any way. So that should be enough. That should be fine. So all that power goes through the front wheels, care of this 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Now, if you're afraid of using dual clutch transmission because of its reliability issues, no worries. This is one of those wet type transmissions that has a longer shelf life, longer use life than those typical dry types. There's a particular quality the Changan CS35 Plus has that's not typical of your budget subcompact crossover offering. So unlike some other brands some other Japanese or even American brands that are awfully light, this one's pretty heavy. I mean, even for a 100,000 kilometer car, it's still pretty solid, given that this car is regularly maintained, right? So this car is maintained every 10,000 kilometers, but basically what they did to it was that they run it all the way around Luzon non-stop for a couple of months, and every 10,000 kilometers they'd service it. So what does that mean? So whatever car you have, as long as you properly maintain it, it'll still run like new. Of course, there are a couple of other things that you can't easily maintain, like the transmission, the engine itself. So what this shows us is that even though it's been running for 100,000 kilometers now, the engine still runs fine. I mean, you can't easily replace a couple of those parts, but apparently they still hold up pretty well. It runs smooth. The transmission still shifts all right, and let's flooring the vehicle. Nothing sounds like it's out of place. There are no hesitations. There's no skipping. So we've established that the power's there, the reliability is there. But what about fuel economy? A lot of people might be asking about how does this car perform when it comes to fuel economy? Well, I'm glad to report that this car, the Changan CS35, does pretty well. I mean, in the city, I was driving this around the city in pretty heavy traffic, and I still get around 8 to 9 kilometers per liter. Now, if you think that's too much for city driving, then I ask you to try driving in Manila. during rush hour traffic and try to at least get 7 to 8 kilometers per liter in the city, it's definitely going to be a hard time. But for this, 8 to 9 kilometers per liter in the city, easy. Once the road opens up, I try driving in the highway. Highway runs will definitely give you north of 11, 12 kilometers per liter. It's fine. For a gasoline engine that's turbocharged, that's pretty impressive, if you ask me. So the thing about build quality is that if you have good build quality, it also means that they didn't skimp on the interior stuff, so that offers a significant weight penalty. Now that kind of negatively impacts the suspension a bit. It's pretty stiff, all right? Unlike other compact SUVs or crossovers where you get softer suspension, this one's pretty harsh. It's not bad harsh, like it's not broken in any way. It just, well, some people might call it sporty perhaps, but I've got some passengers in the back and they expected the smooth ride in this, like a floaty ride. This doesn't offer a floaty ride. You can definitely feel all the bumps on the road. You can feel it. You can feel the steering wheel fight against you. And that's not something a family of 5 or 4 would probably be looking at a family car. Now about that ride quality. Now families would probably want a ride that has softer suspension. But I guess that comes with a budget as well. The price range that this car is available in at sub 1 million pesos. There's got to be some trade-offs, right? I mean, you get all the toys, you get all the amenities, the safety features, but something's got to give. So I guess they chose not to give the Changan CS35 Plus the softer floaty ride that some people might like. Instead, gave it harder suspensions, harder tires, harder wheels, and yeah. But personally, if you're driving this, at least, if you're in the driver's seat, you'd probably like that. Good road feel, good steering feedback. But again, this comes from a perspective of the passengers. See, it's pretty bouncy inside here. They probably wouldn't like that. So let's talk about that price. At 999,000 pesos, the Changan CS35 offers a lot of what you want and need from a compact crossover. At that sub 1 million peso price range, it's a pretty cutthroat market. A lot of compact crossovers and compact SUVs, even cars or sedans, offer a lot of stuff for you, but the Changan CS35 is pretty distinct when it comes to its styling. Now, while some cars give you a futuristic look, this one sticks to a more boxy design that I know a lot of people love. I know I personally love it. Do you think you like the boxy design of the Changan CS35? And is that a good deal at 999,000 pesos? Leave us a comment down below and tell us what you think. So there you have it, folks. The Changan CS35 Plus. It's got the speed, the power, the fuel economy, the looks, and it's not going to break down on you with the proper maintenance after 100,000 kilometers. So what do you think about it? Drop us a comment down below and tell us what other cars you might think that you might buy instead of the Changan CS35 Plus, or if you want to find the best deals about this car, head on over to Zigwheels.Ph and someone will take care of you. No worries. Tell them Roy sent you. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification icon if you want to get alerted whenever you upload a new video. And once again, it's Roy from Zigwheels.Ph. I'll see you next time.